My golden child brother slept with my fiancée, and my mom tried to force me to reconcile with him. So I burned every bridge and watched them all crash. All right, Reddit. This is the story of my family going up in flames and me figuring out that blood doesn't mean jack when people screw you over. Grab your popcorn and listen to this shit show. Name's Nathan, 31 male. Growing up, I was always the spare, the backup kid. My younger brother Chase was the golden child, and everyone knew it. He was the one who could do no wrong in my mom Janet's eyes. Athletic, charismatic, had that smile that made people forget he was useless at everything that mattered. I was the opposite. Quiet, practical, the kind of guy who learned how to rebuild a carburetor at 14 because I was curious. My dad Elliot and I got along great. We understood each other. He owned a small machine shop specializing in custom CNC work and precision fabrication. Industrial pump components, prototype parts for local manufacturers, one-off pieces that required actual skill to make it paid well. He'd been building that business for 30 years, working 60-hour weeks to make sure we had everything we needed. Meanwhile, Chase coasted through life on charm and mom's constant bailouts. See, Chase had this pattern. He'd start something, get bored, then move on while mom made excuses. First, it was college. He dropped out after 2 semesters. "It's not for me," he'd said over dinner. "College is a scam anyway." "You gave it 2 months," I'd pointed out. "That's long enough to know it's not my path." Dad had just shaken his head and kept eating. Then it was a band that lasted 6 months before the other guys kicked him out for never showing up. Then a clothing line that went exactly as well as you'd expect. Each time he crashed and burned, mom was right there with her checkbook open. "He's finding himself," she'd say. "He just needs time to figure out what he's passionate about." I remember one Sunday dinner where Chase announced his latest business idea. "I'm thinking about starting a podcast." "About what?" I'd asked. "Life, success, mindset stuff. You need a topic people actually want to hear about." Mom had jumped in immediately. "Don't discourage him. Chase is going to do something really special one day." Meanwhile, I'd been working at Dad's shop since I was 16. Nobody threw me a parade for it. The worst part was how Mom would compare us. She'd say things like, "Well, your brother has such big dreams," or "Chase is going to do something really special one day." Like working an honest job wasn't special enough. Dad saw through it. He'd pull me aside sometimes in the shop. "Don't let her get in your head. She doesn't. You're doing it right. Building something that lasts." And Chase? Chase is building castles in the sand. That helped. Knowing at least one person in my family respected what I was doing, but Chase never grew up. By the time he hit 28, he'd burned through more jobs and business ideas than I could count. He was working as a bartender at some club downtown, sleeping till noon, going out every night. Meanwhile, I'd worked my way up to shop foreman, managing a crew of 6 guys, had money saved up. That's when I met Elena. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep who came by the shop trying to sell us on some new industrial cleaning solution. Professional, put together, confident. I wasn't interested in the product, but I was definitely interested in her. We got to talking after her presentation. She asked what we manufactured. I showed her around the shop floor. She seemed genuinely interested. We exchanged numbers, started texting, went on our first date 2 weeks later. She was smart, ambitious. She wanted a partner, someone solid. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone saw me as the first choice. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Just took her to this overlook outside the city where you could see the whole valley lit up at night. She said yes before I even finished asking. When we told my family, Mom immediately started planning. Chase was there too. "Congrats, man," he'd said. "Elena's great. Thanks. Means a lot. You're lucky to have her." I know I am. Looking back, that conversation hits different now. Here's where things started getting weird, though. After we got engaged, Elena wanted to spend more time with my family, which made sense. We were getting married. But looking back now, I should have paid more attention. She'd come to family dinners, and I started noticing how much attention she paid to Chase. At first, I figured she was just being nice, but then it got excessive. She'd laugh too hard at his jokes, ask him about his bartending job like it was fascinating, sit next to him at dinner instead of next to me. When I brought it up one night on the drive home, she brushed it off. "I'm just trying to get to know your family. Don't be paranoid." That word made me second-guess myself. So I let it go. But the next Sunday dinner, I paid closer attention. Chase made some joke about a drunk customer at the bar, and Elena laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. "That wasn't even that funny," I said in the car after, "What?" "Chase's story. You were really into it." "I was just being nice. He's your brother." "Right. Just seemed like a lot." She'd gone quiet. Change the subject, but I wasn't paranoid. My gut was telling me something was off. Chase started showing up at our apartment more often, just dropping by unannounced. Elena always seemed too thrilled when he showed up. I'd suggest the three of us go somewhere. Want to hit that new sports bar downtown? Nah, I'm beat from my shift. We could grab food at least. Let's just chill here, your place is way more comfortable. It was weird because Chase used to always want to go out. Now, suddenly he was content to sit on my couch. And the texts. Elena was always on her phone. I'd come home from work and she'd be texting someone, smiling. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say it was her friend from work or her mom. But she'd turn the phone face down. One evening, I'd walked in and caught her quickly closing out of a text. Who's that? Just my coworker. Must be funny. You were smiling. She's going through this thing with her boyfriend. It's nothing. But her face had gone tight when I asked. The worst part was my mom encouraging it. She'd say things like, "It's so nice that Elena gets along with Chase," or, "I'm so glad you two are close." Then there was the money situation I didn't know about. Mom had been secretly funneling cash to Chase for years, paying his rent when he came up short, covering his car payments, bailing him out of credit card debt. Dad found out about some of it early on and told her to cut it out. They'd fight about it. She'd promise to stop. Then she'd do it again the next month. It was like she couldn't help herself. Chase was her special boy, and she'd do anything to keep him afloat, even if it meant lying to her husband. I remember one afternoon at the shop, Dad pulled me aside while we were waiting on a delivery. "Your mother's been acting strange lately." "Yeah? How so?" "Secretive, always on her phone. Defensive when I ask simple questions." "Think something's going on?" He'd shrugged. "Don't know. But something's off." That conversation stuck with me. Dad's instincts were usually right. I didn't see any of this coming together at the time. I just thought my mom favored Chase, and my fiancé was trying to be friendly with my family. The discovery came on a random Tuesday night. I'd been working late at the shop. When I finally wrapped up around 9, I headed home. The apartment was dark when I walked in. Elena's car was in the parking lot. I set my work bag down, boots thudding. The TV was off. Kitchen light was off. I headed toward the bedroom. That's when I heard it. Voices low. I stood there in the hallway for maybe 15 seconds. The voices were clearer now. That was definitely Elena. And Chase. My hand went to the bedroom door handle. It was unlocked. I took a breath and opened it. The scene registered in pieces. Elena. Chase. My bed. The sheets half pulled up. Chase's shirt on the floor. They both froze when they saw me. Nobody said anything for a few seconds. I could hear the neighbor's TV through the wall. Then Chase tried to speak, his voice cracking. "Dude, I can explain." I held up my hand. My voice came out weirdly calm. "Don't. Get your clothes. Get out. Both of you. Right now." Elena grabbed the sheet, panicking already. "This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Please, just let me." I looked at her. "Really? That's what you're going with?" I shifted my attention to Chase, who was scrambling off the bed, looking for his jeans. "My brother." "You've got 2 minutes," I said, checking my watch. "If you're still here after that, I'll make sure you leave with some broken ribs." Chase fumbled with his belt. Elena kept trying to form words. I stepped back from her. Save it. I walked out of the bedroom and stood in the hallway, boiling inside, watching them scramble to get dressed. Chase couldn't look at me. Elena was crying. They both left within minutes. Chase didn't even try to apologize again. Just grabbed his stuff and bolted. After they left, I just stood there in my living room. The apartment felt contaminated. I could still smell Elena's perfume, could see Chase's shoe prints on the carpet. My bed was unmade with sheets I'd have to burn. I couldn't sleep there. I grabbed my keys and left. Drove to a motel about 20 minutes away, checked in. Sat on the edge of a bed that smelled like industrial laundry detergent. No anger yet, just this cold, hollow feeling. The anger didn't hit until around 2 in the morning. I was lying there in the dark and it came crashing down. I started pacing the tiny motel room. How long had this been going on? 3 months? 6? How many times had they done this? How many family dinners had I sat through while they were planning their next meetup? I thought about all the times Chase had come over, all the times Elena had been on her phone, smiling at texts she'd hide, all the times she'd suggested we invite Chase. It had been right in front of my face the whole time. The next morning I called my dad, just asked if I could come by the shop. My voice must have sounded off because he immediately said, "Yeah, come on over." When I got there, he took one look at my face and set down his pen. Closed the office door. "Sit down," he said. I told him everything. About coming home and finding them, about kicking them both out, about confronting Chase. Dad didn't interrupt. And when I finished, his face went hard. That little punk, he muttered after everything. His hands clenched into fists on the desk. I asked him if he knew anything, if Mom had said something. He shook his head. But I'm going to find out. He stood up, grabbed his keys. Come on. We're going to the house. I need to talk to your mother. We drove to my parents' place in silence. When we got there, Mom was in the kitchen doing dishes. She looked surprised to see us both, smiled like nothing was wrong. Hey guys, what brings you by? Dad didn't smile back. Kitchen. Now. His voice had this edge to it that made her smile fade immediately. They went into the kitchen and closed the door, but I could hear them through the wall. Dad's voice was low but intense. Did you know? Know what? Don't play dumb with me, Janet. Elliot, what are you talking about? Did you know Chase was sleeping with his brother's fiancée? Silence. Then, it's complicated. That's not an answer. How long have you known? Is that why you've been acting weird lately? No. How long, Janet? A few weeks. Chase came to me. He was confused about his feelings. He didn't mean for it to happen. You knew for weeks and you didn't tell him? Your own son? You protected Chase instead? What's wrong with you? I could hear Mom trying to defend herself. He's my son too. He needed someone to talk to. He was struggling with the guilt. The guilt? He felt guilty, so you decided to help him hide it instead of telling the truth? Their voices kept escalating until Dad came back out. His face was red. His hands were shaking. Your mother knew, he said to me. She knew they were seeing each other for at least a month and didn't say anything. That hit me harder than the actual betrayal somehow. My own mother knew and said nothing. Didn't warn me. Didn't try to stop it. Just let it happen because Chase was her golden boy. Mom came out of the kitchen. Her eyes were red. She looked at me pleading. I was trying to get him to stop. I told him it was wrong. But you didn't tell me. I didn't want to hurt you if it was going to end anyway. So you just let me keep planning a wedding? Keep paying for an apartment she was using to cheat in? She started crying. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to protect both of you. You weren't protecting anyone, Dad said. His voice was ice cold. You were enabling Chase like you always do, like you've been doing his entire life. And now look what happened. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. Just don't. You knew, and you said nothing. That's all I need to know about where your loyalty lies. I walked out, left both my parents standing there. Dad followed me to my truck. First stop was Chase's apartment. I drove there with my dad following behind in his truck. Chase answered the door in sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. When he saw me, his expression went from confused to scared. Oh, hey man. Before he could say anything else, I stepped forward and shoved him back. My dad came in behind me and shut the door. The apartment smelled like old takeout. Chase caught his balance. Look, I know you're mad, but... Mad? You think I'm mad? We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I stepped closer. Chase backed up until he hit the wall. I grabbed the front of his shirt. I'm way past mad. I'm completely done with you. My dad spoke up from behind me. How long, Chase? How long were you sleeping with your brother's fiancée? Chase's mouth opened and closed. Come on, man. This isn't... Answer the question, my dad said. 3 months, Chase finally managed. My grip on his shirt tightened. 3 months. You came to Sunday dinners, sat across from me, and the whole time you were doing this. We didn't mean for it to happen, Chase started. I shoved him against the wall again. Don't. You didn't accidentally trip into her bed. This was a choice, every single time. My dad stepped forward. And we're done enabling you. No more money, no more bailouts, no more anything. You want to be a man? Act like one. Chase's eyes went wide. Dad, you can't... Watch me, my dad said. His voice was flat. Final, and one more thing. That money your mother gave you? I want it back. Every penny. Chase went pale. I don't have that kind of money. Not my problem, Dad said. You took it knowing it wasn't just hers to give. That makes you liable. You've got 30 days to figure it out, or I'm taking you to court. Next stop was Elena. She'd been blowing up my phone all morning. Texts, calls, voicemails, all desperate. Each message more pathetic than the last. I didn't respond. I showed up at her condo around noon the next day. She answered the door looking like she'd been up all night. Eyes swollen. Hair a mess. Can we talk? No, I'm here for my stuff. Please, just 5 minutes. You don't get 5 minutes. I held up the engagement ring. The one I'd spent 2 months picking out. $3,000. She stared at it. No, she whispered. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I can explain fix this? I repeated. You slept with my brother. She started crying. It was a mistake. I was confused. He He was there and you were always working and I felt lonely? I laughed. So this is my fault? Because I was working? She fumbled. No, that's not what I meant. I don't know why I did it. It didn't mean anything. For 3 months it didn't mean anything, I said. That's a lot of nothing, Elena. I pushed past her into the condo, started gathering my stuff. She followed me around, still trying to explain. It won't happen again, she kept saying. I'll do anything. I stopped and looked at her. This woman I'd been planning to marry, to build a life with, have kids with, and she'd thrown it all away for the guy who couldn't keep a job, who still lived off handouts from his mom, who had nothing to offer except whatever attention he'd been giving her when I wasn't around. Then you shouldn't have slept with my brother, I said. I zipped up my bag and headed for the door. Elena grabbed my arm. Please, she begged, her voice cracking. I love you. I want to marry you. We can get through this. People make mistakes. I pulled my arm free. The wedding's off. We're done. Completely done. Don't contact me again. She collapsed against the doorframe as I walked out, her sobs echoing down the hallway. I didn't look back. Over the next few days, I started the process of untangling my life from hers. Called the venue and canceled. Lost the deposit, but I didn't care. Contacted everyone who'd been invited and told them the wedding was off. Didn't give details, just said things didn't work out. Most people were understanding. My real friends didn't need an explanation. The hardest part was dealing with my mom. She kept calling, trying to get me to sit down and talk to Chase. He's your brother, she'd say. Family is family. You need to forgive him. Each time she called, I'd hang up. Eventually, I just blocked her number. I didn't want to hear her excuses or her attempts to minimize what Chase had done. My dad, on the other hand, was fully in my corner. The night after everything went down, he sat me down and said, I'm proud of you for not letting them walk all over you. My whole life I'd been told that family comes first, that you forgive and move on. But nobody ever talks about what you do when family is the one betraying you. When the people who are supposed to have your back are the ones stabbing you in it. About a week after everything exploded, my dad called me early. We need to talk. Can you come by the house? When I got there, he was sitting at the kitchen table with his reading glasses on, laptop open, and 6 months of bank statements spread out. His coffee sat untouched and cold. I thought I knew how bad it was with your mother and Chase, he said. Turns out I didn't know half of it. He turned the laptop toward me. Joint checking account transaction history. Entries highlighted in yellow. 300 here. 800 there. 1,500. Another grand. These all went to Chase, he said. Over the past 18 months, your mother has taken $30,000 out of our account, given it to your brother. Without telling me, I stared at the numbers. 30 grand. Did she think you wouldn't notice? He pulled off his glasses. I think she thought I'd keep ignoring it. I only caught on because our savings account balance was off. Started digging. I scrolled through the transactions. ATM withdrawals at odd hours. Direct transfers to Chase's account. One labeled loan for $800. That was right after Chase totaled his car last year. This one here, I pointed at the screen. That was for his car accident? Yep. Told me she gave him 200. Actually gave him 8. And you found all of this how? Savings account was off by 3 grand, started digging. Does she know you know? His expression said everything. What did she say when you showed her? I asked. Same thing she always says, he's my son. He needed help. He picked up one of the statements. This is theft. I don't care if we're married. This is my money that I earned and she stole it. So what now? I asked. Now I get my money back and I file for divorce. I blinked. Wait, you're serious? Completely serious, he said. I've spent 30 years building something. She took that money and gave it to Chase without asking me. And after covering up for him sleeping with Elena, things must end here. I am done. He slid a bank statement across the table. That's just what I found in the last 18 months. Could be 50,000 over the years. Could be more. My mom had been secretly funding Chase's lifestyle for years, while Dad worked himself to exhaustion. I asked my dad what his lawyer said. He'd already consulted with one that morning. The lawyer said he could use it as grounds for divorce. The fact that she was giving money to Chase without his knowledge showed financial infidelity, which judges didn't look kindly on. My dad was going for it, filing papers by the end of the week. He was also cutting Chase out of his will completely. Everything was going to me now. Chase gets nothing. And one more thing, he said. I'm going after Chase for the money. He got 30 grand. I want it back. Every penny. I couldn't help but smile. Chase didn't have $30,000. If Dad came after him for it, he'd be screwed. My dad started gathering the bank statements. I should have done this years ago, he said quietly. Should have put my foot down. But I kept thinking she'd stop. Guess I was wrong. What do you need from me? I asked. Nothing, he said. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't let them drag you down. As I was leaving, he stopped me. Your mother's probably going to try to reach out. Don't fall for it. She made her choice. I told him I had no intention of talking to either of them. Over the next few days, my dad moved forward with everything. Filed for divorce, froze the joint accounts, sent Chase a demand letter. Chase responded exactly how you'd expect. Panicked calls, desperate texts saying he didn't have the money. My dad didn't care. My mom went into full meltdown mode. Called my dad dozens of times. Showed up at the shop. He had her removed. She even tried to turn me and Chase against Dad. That fell flat. The divorce papers were served about 2 weeks after Dad filed. Mom tried to fight it, but Dad's lawyer laid it all out. It was open and shut. I thought I was done with the drama, but then my mom decided to take one last shot. About a month after the divorce papers were served, she called me. She sounded normal. Almost too normal. Hey, honey, I was wondering if you wanted to grab lunch this week. I miss you. Just the two of us. Part of me knew this was probably a setup, but another part wanted to believe maybe she'd finally come around. So I agreed. We picked this diner near her new apartment. I got there first. When Mom walked in, she looked tired. She slid into the booth across from me. We made small talk for about 10 minutes. She asked about the shop, about Dad. Surface level stuff. I gave short answers, waiting for her to get to the real reason she'd called. Business is good? Yeah, really good actually. And your dad? How's he doing? He's fine. Happier than he's been in years. That's good. I'm glad. The forced pleasantness was exhausting. Then her expression shifted. Got more serious. I think it's time we talk about Chase and Elena, she said, like it was a reasonable topic of conversation. My jaw tightened. There's nothing to talk about, Mom. They did what they did. I'm done with both of them. She leaned forward. But they're family. Chase is your brother. This is just a rough patch. A rough patch. I stared at her. Mom, he slept with my fiancée for months. That's not a rough patch. She waved her hand. People make mistakes. They're young. These things happen. Before I could respond, movement at the diner entrance caught my eye. Chase walked in. Then Elena. They spotted our booth and started heading over. She'd set this up. I looked at my mom and she had this hopeful expression like she'd just done something wonderful. You set me up, I said. My voice was quiet, but there was an edge to it. She smiled. I just thought if we could all sit down together, talk face to face, you'd see that they really are sorry. That we can work through this as a family. I stood up as Chase and Elena reached the booth, pulled out a 20 and dropped it on the table. Sit down, Mom said. Please. No, I'm leaving. Just give us 5 minutes. You don't get 5 minutes? We're family. I looked at each of them. Chase wouldn't meet my eyes. Elena was already crying. Mom actually thought this would work. Chase finally spoke up. Dude, just give us 5 minutes. 5 minutes? I repeated. You want 5 minutes to explain why you stabbed me in the back? There's nothing you can say. Elena stepped closer. Please, she said. I miss you. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. I looked at her. We're not fixing anything. You made that choice for 3 months. Now live with it. She started crying harder. Mom stood up. You're being unreasonable. I laughed. Yeah, now I'm being unreasonable. Mom looked flustered. He made a mistake. Now your dad is divorcing me over it. Please, Nate, we must fix this. I need you to talk to your dad and tell him we can fix it. She started crying. I turned to leave, but Mom grabbed my arm. If you walk out that door, you're choosing to destroy this family. I pulled my arm free and looked her in the eye. You already destroyed this family. You just don't want to accept responsibility for what you've done. Then I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. I was done playing these games. When I told my dad what happened, he was livid. She ambushed you? After everything? He shook his head. That woman has lost her mind. He told me he was going to make sure the divorce went through as fast as possible. He didn't want to be tied to her any longer than necessary. The divorce moved forward quickly after that. My dad had documented everything. The financial deception, the secret payments to Chase, her attempt to manipulate me into reconciling with my brother, his lawyer, presented it all to the judge during the proceedings. Mom tried to paint herself as a concerned mother, just trying to keep the family together. The judge wasn't buying it. The settlement came down hard in Dad's favor. He got the house, his shop, most of the savings. Mom got her car and half of their retirement account. Dad also made sure that any future earnings from his business were his alone. He wasn't going to let her drain his accounts. The cherry on top was the judgment against Chase for the $30,000. The judge ruled that since the money was taken from the joint account without Dad's knowledge or consent, and since Chase knew Mom was giving him money, that wasn't solely hers to give, he was liable for repayment. Chase had 30 days to come up with the money, or Dad could pursue collections. He didn't have $30,000. Didn't have 3,000 hell, he probably didn't have 300 in actual savings. He begged Mom to help him, but she was tapped out. Her share of the divorce settlement barely covered first and last month's rent on a cheaper apartment plus legal fees. So Dad's lawyer filed for wage garnishment. Any money Chase made from his bartending job would be garnished at 25% until the debt was paid off. At minimum wage plus tips, assuming he worked full-time, that would take him about 7 or 8 years. But it got worse for Chase. The stress of everything caused him to start screwing up at work. He'd been pulling 4 or 5 shifts a week at this downtown club. But once the garnishment hit and he saw his first paycheck with a quarter of it missing, he started falling apart, showing up to shifts hungover, giving customers attitude when they complained about their drinks, getting into arguments with the other bartenders over tip splits. His manager warned him twice. The third time Chase no-showed for a Saturday night shift. Just didn't bother coming in. Didn't call. Didn't text. They fired him on the spot and spread the word to the other bars in the area that he was unreliable. And without a steady income, the wage garnishment couldn't touch him, which meant Dad's lawyer could go after his assets. Chase didn't have much. His car was a lease with payments he was already behind on. His apartment was month to month, but he did have stuff. A nice TV, gaming setup, some vintage sneakers he'd been collecting for years, designer clothes Mom had bought him. Dad's lawyer got a court order to seize it all. I wasn't there when they came for his stuff, but Dad told me about it later. Chase had apparently tried to argue with the guys loading his belongings into a truck, saying they couldn't do this, that it wasn't fair. They handed him the court order and kept loading. Everything he owned except his clothes and his bed got hauled off and sold at auction. The whole lot brought in about $2,900. Barely 10% of what he owed, but it was something. And more importantly, it sent a message. After Chase lost his job and his stuff, he completely fell apart. He couldn't find another bartending gig because word had gotten around that he was unreliable. He ended up having to move back in with Mom in her cramped apartment. 2 people who'd enabled each other for years, now trapped together in their own misery. My dad and I were doing fine. Better than fine, actually. With Mom out of the picture and Chase cut off, the shop was running smoother than ever. Dad had more energy, was less stressed. We started taking on bigger projects, making more money. It was like removing the dead weight allowed us to actually thrive. One day, about 6 months after the divorce was final, I was at the shop working on a custom order when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Chase. His voice was shaky, desperate. Before I could hang up, he started talking fast. Dude, please. I need help. Wrong number. I can't find work. Mom and I are barely making rent. Not my problem. I'm your brother. You're supposed to help family. I let him finish, then said in the flattest voice possible, not my problem. I laughed. Now you want to talk about family? Where was that logic when you were sleeping with Elena? He tried to respond, but I cut him off. You chose to betray me. Now you're dealing with those consequences. Don't call me again. I hung up and blocked the number. Felt nothing. No guilt, no regret. Life moved on. Dad's shop kept growing. I got promoted to operations manager and was handling most of the day-to-day business. We were pulling in twice what we made before Mom and Chase were out of the picture. Turns out when you're not constantly throwing money down a bottomless pit, you can actually build something. I'd been dating a woman named Kelsey for about 4 months. She was put together, gorgeous, completely independent. We took things slow and I was upfront about what had happened with Elena and Chase. She didn't judge. Just said some people don't deserve second chances. Meanwhile, Chase and Mom's situation kept getting worse. Chase couldn't hold down any job. He'd work somewhere for a few weeks, then either get fired or quit. Mom was working 2 part-time jobs just to keep them afloat. The woman who'd spent years living comfortably off Dad's hard work was now struggling to make ends meet. Karma's funny that way. Then one Saturday morning around 8, someone knocked on my door. Loud. I'd been up for an hour, drinking coffee and going over some work orders. When I looked through the peephole, there was Mom standing in the hallway. She looked rough, like life had been beating her down for months and she'd stopped fighting back. The dark circles under her eyes were so pronounced they looked like bruises. I opened the door, but didn't step back. What do you want? Can I come in? We need to talk. No, say what you need to say from there. It's about Chase. He's in bad shape. Not my problem. Her face crumpled. The waterworks started immediately. Please? You're his brother. He needs help. He needs someone who can give him a chance. I shook my head. Chase needed someone to hold him accountable years ago. You should have done that instead of enabling every bad decision he ever made. Now, it's too late. But he's drowning, she said, her voice rising with desperation. He can't find work. Nobody will hire him. The garnishment ruined his credit. We're barely making rent. He has nothing left. Good, I said. Maybe having nothing will teach him what actual consequences feel like. She wiped her eyes. I know I made mistakes. I know I should have handled things differently with both of you. But he's my son. I can't just abandon him. You abandoned me, I said flatly. The words hung in the air between us. When you chose to protect him instead of doing what was right, she tried to compose herself. I need you to talk to your father, please. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd given birth to me, raised me, was supposed to love me unconditionally. And here she was, standing at my door, begging me to help the brother she'd enabled and protected for 28 years. No, I said. Neither me nor my father want to do anything with both of you. You two made your bed. Now lie in it. She reached out like she was going to grab my arm, but I stepped back. Her expression shifted. The desperation turned to anger. Her face hardened. You've turned into your father, cold and unforgiving. Just like him. I smiled. Good. Dad's the only one in this family who understood that loyalty and respect actually mean. I'm proud to be like him. She stood there for another moment, like she genuinely couldn't believe I wasn't caving. When she finally realized she was wasting her time, she turned without another word and walked down the hallway. Never heard from her ever since. Some people spend their whole lives making excuses for family, letting toxic people stay in their lives because blood is supposed to mean something. Not me. I learned that blood doesn't mean jack when it comes to loyalty, that the people who are supposed to love you can hurt you worse than strangers ever could, and that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away and never look back. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.